Let's get rolling. And today I'll be showing you how to fold my Origami Totoro from my Neighbor Totoro. I hope you enjoy the fold and the whole process of seeing him come to life from paper, and like so, enjoy the video. So these horizontal lines are going to be very necessary for this model, by the way, for Totoro, if I'm saying his name right. And basically, the bottom part of the paper will be starting off as actually a line connection to from his tail to his arms right here, that I'm going to do. Just like this. And then we're gonna do 3x3 on the top here. So I'm gonna do probably my favorite, well, not favorite, but most used. Well, I realize it's like the most used mark reference in origami that I've used. I don't know why. It just always seems to work with a lot of designs. I even did it with the origami reindeer yesterday on Christmas Eve. And yeah, but anyways, you'll use that mark just to get these here. Pre-creasing shouldn't even take that long. It's just setting up for the pleats. So like these ones here, I'll pull these towards the center line. Despite the shadow that's lingering over the video, most of the paper won't be covered by it, so it doesn't even matter. It's just a much preferred setup I have now with the new phone stand. So, enough about me though. I'm trying to remember this next part. Oh yes. I'll fold this edge to this point right here that we made not too long ago. Because there's gonna be maybe a little bit of box pleating. Honestly, kind of some pretty basic box pleating. I seem to like throwing in that technique with folding these days, like how I did with my origami butterfly Kirby from previous time. So I'll get this. And I'm trying to look here, and I think there's a little reference we can maybe set up ahead of time to make this a lot better. If I'm looking at this right, which, okay, so this is what we'll do. I'm first gonna have a line. We'll have this horizontal, well, not horizontal, you'll have this vertical line that will make sort of a right triangle sort of shape, minus not having this side folded. But then looking at the crease pattern, something that'll make this work a little bit better is if we connect this point, well, this, where these two lines are intersecting, so right, I forgot my pen, give me a sec. But we're basically, oh wait, my pen's back here. But we're basically gonna have this point here, line along with this point, so we'll do a line like that. I just gotta be careful, because this will set up for some specific swivel fold. And I'll do the same thing on the other side, so it's just from this point until it hits this line right about here. And then where that line intersects all the way to that horizontal crease right there. Looking pretty good there. And looking at the crease pattern a little bit further ahead of time, I think we can also make a point that connects from this reference, these 2 points right here. Most of that I think is going to be set up for a series of pleats. Most of this is trying to remember this on top of the back, because this is only my second time pulling this, but I should be able to still show you the whole process. But we'll make a horizontal line right along the center in between these two lines, like so. And you can actually clearly see the creases this time compared to the previous video, which is nice. Enough about me though. Let me just... let's see. I think most of this was around the... yeah, so around the hand. So these will be towards those... I'm totally gonna say his name wrong. I never watched it. I'm just kind of doing this just because this might work. But we'll actually make these what? Not good at talking today, but we'll just go ahead and add these lines here. This, we could pretty much do them all the way if we want to as well. Kind of similar to the bottom part of the paper. So then we'll do a 22.5 angle here. My best friend. I'm not gonna do it all the way though. That's just not gonna be the case. And I might add some of them over here too. There might be a little bit of some improvements I'll try to make over the first fold. That looks good. And then when it comes to the rest of the creases looks like we'll pretty much kind of fold once we actually start collapsing, which I'll basically get into how about now, because why not? Which we'll start off by doing these pleats here from those reference lines. Then on the other side, this is like very little box pleating will do, at least pretty basic-ish. So we'll fold this up first. Then you'll have this folded down, and then this folded down. Something like that. I'll show it again on this side. So just fold this up, flatten this around his tail, and then flatten it exactly like this. So there we go. As for getting his hands, I will fold this part like this, and then fold it down using that crease line we had. You can fold it all the way across, so something like this here. From what worked last time, I'll actually set up an inside reverse fold right here. And we'll worry about one side, then we'll repeat on the other. We'll do that swivel fold I was talking about underneath here. And we can still do some more swivel folding, just to kind of help get a better arm thing going. But basically, there's not going to be exact reference for this part. It just kind of depends on how you want Porto's belly, how wide you want it to be. But kind of go with this much, and then I'll do one more, just to have that good connection there between his feet and hands. Alright, and then I'm actually gonna with those creases set up, I'm going to put them inside this time. And that looks pretty neat. I like that. Then I'll do the same thing on the other side. So once again, triangle here to start off. Or I don't think you need to do that though, if you have the crease set up. But you'll use those reference lines first. This is really good to set those up ahead of time. You'll have those there. And then where you want this point to be at will depend. Maybe just get kind of like I think a centimeter. Well, it's only a centimeter from this size of paper I'm using. You can fold this with printer paper easily compared to some other works. And then I'll do a swivel fold up here. Just kind of take in mind with the amount of gap you're having there, because otherwise your side can be exact reference point, which is sometimes kind of fun to do, be able to fold without specific references. Okay, so then I'll put this underneath. It just looks so much better now. Just like that. So then a lot of this here is going to be mainly the patterns that you see on Torto's upper chest that he has. I think for the most part, from what I've done in the past, it's just pretty much, I'll just fold these down like this. I think they're pretty much set up for an open sink. And there's going to be a little bit of box plating to be able to get the amount of creases we want. But we'll set up with that. And pretty much we're gonna first do an open sink, at least at these parts around his arms, like this. And then what I'll do here, so if I remember right, so pretty much these are going to be our creases to be able to fold parts of his belly, I believe. And just trying to review this just so I'm not getting that mixed up. But we'll kind of do whatever. But I think the main thing we want to do is to be able to actually separate this part here from these here. So basically when we open it up like this side, we're gonna create these so we're kind of doing a series of inside reverse folds, sort of just like this, just so you get this kind of folded out like that. This will help loosen this part. And then all you gotta do is just when you flatten it, you just have this part. It's gonna be folded up like that. Is what I'm trying to do here. And then these parts are way more separated from his arms, which is gonna be nice for texture reasons around his belly. So same thing here. Once again, you get that inside reverse fold, so you'll kind of have these triangles. They look like teeth, kind of, inside of that. Just kind of imagine it like that, and hopefully it'll make a little bit more sense with what I'm doing. And then when we flatten it, we're just gonna do it just like this. And there we go. Okay, I'm looking at my crease pattern from what I'm trying to remember. I believe the last thing to do is to we're gonna actually move this line up just a little bit higher. So basically try to make this very center of the paper the flap for this upper part of this chest. There's probably multiple ways to achieve this, but when I do this, the best thing you'll see is that you'll have these. Okay, so let me back up a little bit because I was just trying something very quick. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna first try to pinch the center a little bit, like maybe push it up. The side here, if you look closely, you'll see that you'll have like a point that connects from here right to this part where the flap is gonna be. So it's a little bit more of that. You're having a little bit more of a acute right angled triangle sort of thing going on. If you just kind of notice that. You'll have the same thing on the other side, like this as well. So there's not going to be like the perfect squares or triangles we were having. And it might be kind of a weird part at first, unless, don't worry. And let me be sure. Let's see, kind of doing a sloppy job, to be honest. I think mainly this side is being kind of weird, but we'll get something going like this, and there we go. So now we'll have these properly separated so that when we pull these flaps up eventually, and we can kind of pull these up immediately now, because these will help with getting the rest of other details for Totoro. And I'll try to do a little bit different, maybe with this head kind of compared to my first design of him, just because he kind of looked more like a bunny rather than what I imagined as him. Yeah, so you'll have those three lines set up right there. What I do to get the sort of the texture is you kind of do a little inside reverse fold that has a line connecting from here to the very center. Something like this. You inside reverse fold again, and you just kind of fold these up multiple times. And it might not be the best approach, but I think it still does add like the sort of texture. I was sort of that zigzag texture I was kind of going for. There may be better ways to do it, but I'll just kind of stick with it for now. And then you'll do the same thing on the bottom part as well. Inside reverse, little inside reverse fold, and so much of that. But basically it's just zigzagging it up and down, up and down. And regardless, this is still gonna add like a distinct texture to his belly, which is something that I want. Just like that. So yeah, that looks pretty good there. I like that. There are some ideas I have for his hands, or his arms. I might just fold his arm down like this, just basically having this motion here. This is probably just for the idea of how texture will just work. So again, just from this side view, this is what I'm doing. If it doesn't work later on, I can always change that, but just to show you with my approach that I think it's gonna work, I'll just do it like that. Just go inside reverse fold these parts so those little lines aren't trying to pop up. Okay. So now that I've gotten that, next we're gonna do his head. We'll definitely move on to the head. So the first thing I'm gonna do So I'm going to use the line here that we pre-creased earlier, and go along it just like this. And just to make it a little bit easier, you can also kind of crease it before you actually collapse it by creasing it on the other side too. Just be sure the two lines sort of meet up like this. And then once you have that going, you can then just have this sort of thing going. Or actually, before we do that, I'll even have these parts folded. Preferably. I'll probably, yeah, fold these all the way, because that's how I did his head before. It worked for getting the ears and stuff. I don't know, maybe I might not change the head details. I think I'll still do a good job. Especially with how a little bit more neat this is done this time. So you get this motion, well, you get this kind of fold. I think the goal most of the time is to try to make this line up properly. But once you get that set up, and okay, slow down. What I'll do is, this is the better way to do it. I'll pull this down. Let's do it like this with his arms. And then we'll do this. That's a better way to do it. I don't think this will exactly hit the corners of the paper if you try to fold it in half like this. So, it's okay if it doesn't look exactly right. Just get good enough where you'll start to get the flaps formed for him. At least that'll be for setting up now, just for those creases. So once you have those creases made, I'll go up here. So let's see what I can do. You can still follow along. That's how you want to do his head, can kind of depend on your ideas. But I'm gonna try doing something more like this, where we'll set up like this, but then I think this time compared to my previous fold, I'm actually gonna fold this one out like this. Be sure these are not folded down like that. What I'll do next is trying to look here. So let me pull this down for a little bit, because I'll probably still do like his mouth detail that I did in the past. I think the best way will probably to just kind of have it where it's intersecting at these creases. Though, I need to be sure that I have a way to get rid of these edges, obviously. I think the best way the best way will probably to just but that crease I just made just now with the intersect, I think I'll fold it up like this. So at this point, meet with this point. Actually, that looks the most proper. because, yeah, so we'll have this square thing going on. This point will probably be for his nose. This will probably be for his mouth. Because with this form going on, you could then have this folded up, just like that. And that looks really good. That's exactly what I wanted to get. I'll fold this across. Be sure to get the same thing on the other side. Let down and then fold this up. And go like this. Okay, so then his head might be pretty thin right now when looking at this. If I try to pull this up, let's get to the ears, which, oh, this might work. So, to get the ears for Totoro, let's just do this sort of motion here. I'll probably do the same thing. I'll probably do the same thing on the other side. Now that I think about it, I think I could do an even better job with the eyes by actually making them flaps instead of just crease lines. I want to make these the eye flaps this time. I think the way I'll do it, that's probably not gonna work. Oh, but this will work better. You just kind of fold this to the corner, because then the ears will be closer towards the center, which is more preferable. So again, it's already, yeah, because that sort of folding pattern we were doing was already set up for this. Pull this down a little bit, and what's kind of neat about this is that this kind of sets up to kind of make him 3D. Though I will like to kind of get rid of a little bit more of this part. I'm just trying to look here. So probably just swivel fold back here, or no, I'm not gonna do that, because what I'll do, I'm gonna set up open sync here. I'll try to be sure it's lining up with this line rather than this edge line, paper edge line. Then I'm gonna open sync it like so. And then to pull that down all the way, be sure that this part is pulled inside reverse, hold it down. And there might be a little swivel fold action I can do here, actually, to get rid of this edge. Because of the shape of his ears, you can have this folded down like this, but then you'll have this swivel fold action right here. Cool. Let me do the same thing on the other side. And so now that I know what I'm doing, I'll show you it more properly. So what I did was I set up for an open sink like this. Set up for an open sink. See, this part gets folded down. When you fold this part down, you will have a little bit of the line kind of being this thick, just like this here. And then we'll fold this edge down, but also have this back part folded. A really good way to be efficient with the paper and still retain a good shape. Will this part probably be careful with paper tearing at this specific corner. And there we go. Get it just like that. Yeah, so this part around the top part of his body is already kind of in a 3D form like that. So we're basically kind of into the whole detailing part section. So for most of the details that I want to do, I said that I wanted these to be the eyes this time. At least I want to. What I'll do is let me try to think about how I want to do this. Kind of make him look a little bit angry though, don't you think? I think the best thing to do to get the eyes properly, especially where he doesn't have big eyes at all, is to be able to fold this down. And then you sort of spread across, like you do I don't know what kind of fold that is, but you'll do this for the eye. And you can do the same thing on the other side. If they look too spread apart, I can maybe arrange it a little bit to try to make him look, and it's not perfectly angled, by the way, but this should be good. If we want a little bit more texture, you could kind of fold these down if you want like a little pimple, but honestly I'm not the biggest fan of that, so we'll just stick with this. We're getting his nose. From what I'm thinking, it's pretty simple. We'll just kind of fold it down like this. We can kind of give it a 3D effect by doing a little crimp here, then pinching it. Then as for his mouth, I'm not exactly sure what I want to do. Again, he always looks like a... I swear in Origami he just ends up looking more like a bunny. You can kind of do the mouth in different ways that you may want to do. I'll do the ears, or I'll just fold the corners down like this. We'll try to do this shape. Actually, I wonder if his eyes needs to be further away. That might be why he's looking it's not remind me of Totoro. I'm just continually being reminded of a rabbit. I think especially because of the way the model's being shaped. I think what I'll do instead, I might try to do an open sync. It just looks like I don't know how to... It might be because of the nose too. It's... just... So I like doing the mouth this way this time. I think maybe instead of... Okay, that's starting to look a little bit closer to him. Design-wise. Let me try to do the other ear as well. I could kind of use some of the creases underneath his mouth, maybe to add a little bit more textures. So yeah, I guess his design could be kind of bunny-like, sort of, just because of the ears. They might be, and kind of the trickier thing is that sometimes especially with the drawing style, like not all the proportions are gonna exactly have that correct, or have like some sort of exact sort of length. So I might go with this for now, because I think regardless of what I might do with him, he'll just kind of again remind me more of a bunny. But I'll see. Let me kind of work on the other parts of him. So the way that I did the bottom part, and I probably should do the bottom part than the rest of folding this. My issue might be just because of like you're getting these kind of creases here. Hold on. Let me first do the tail. But you'll do a crimp here. I'll probably, compared to my previous design, I might move the crimps where they end at a much higher position. I think. Then I'll swivel fold underneath. Gets a little bit thick around the bead depending on where you're trying to do it at. In the feet, I will hold them a little bit forward. Really narrow the tail a little bit more. What I like to do for the edge of his feet and maybe hands, at least for the feet, I'll pull these corners in. Then these little flaps, I'll basically do a little pleats. It kind of gives a little claw detail. Just simple enough like that. I might have done stuff like that in the past with origami bears. When I used to do them. When I used to do a lot of animals. Same thing on the other side. Do this. We get to move on to the hands. Trim a little bit back here. I think with the hands, all I do is just kind of pleat the corner, then it looks good enough that way. Though what I might do, because I want the hands to be a little bit forward towards the belly more, which, yeah, if you do it like that, it gets a little bit thick there, but honestly it's a good thickness just because of its brings good density to his hands. Okay, let me do it on the other side. Yeah, so I'm looking at this ahead of time, so I'm trying to figure out how I want to make this make his head look less like a rabbit. if I could do something a little bit different. No, I don't like doing it like that. Let me keep it. Let me try doing something. So what I kind of did there was I took this edge piece here and pretty much inside reverse folded it or pulled it out like this much. Doing it this way does make the eyes a little bit better, I think. See, then you'll get this kind of folding pattern here. I think this is being a little different. Hold on, let me be sure. Alright, so we have it like this. Hold this down. Then fold this up. This kind of leave a little bit of room to maybe kind of maybe leaves a little whisker detail. I don't know. I don't like how no matter what I do with his face, he just looks more like a rabbit. It's not reminding me of probably maybe because I need to lower his eyes more. Maybe I also need to get rid of a chin. Dude. So if I lower the eyes, make this part more like he has his mouth open. Maybe pinch these as little whisker. Maybe like what could be whiskers that he has. They don't have to be long, just because I don't think it'll look good in Origami. Okay, let me worry about the other hand very quick, because I kind of sidetracked myself. So we'll pinch this part below. Try to fold it up. Get the hands like this. Okay, I'll show you. Well, hold on. Let me. Actually, might be because the ears are too long. So I'll probably just pleat them in the back a little bit. That begins to look more like him. So if the ears are too long, he'll probably look very bunny-like, which I don't want. Because when I pulled up the image for Totoro, that's how I say his name. I kind of, yeah, was. Yeah, that's starting to remind me a little bit more of him now. Yeah, definitely. I think it was definitely because the ears were too long, which I thought wasn't the case, but this might have been the first model where like the size really mattered. Usually I try to go for longer sizes, but didn't really work out. And his mouth is opening this time around. You get little details that kind of resembles his whiskers, kind of, but not quite. I don't know, they just look good that way. And let me just be sure, because I don't want to end it too soon in case if I need to point out with something. But the ears pleated, you can kind of fold the shoulders backwards a little bit more, which looks a little bit better. How to do his feet? Let me be sure. I kind of like doing the feet more like this. Just kind of curl them in like that. Like maybe I'll do a little pleats there or something just to. And then I'll probably crimp, just to keep the tail in control, I'll probably just do a little crimp near here. Yeah, that looks better. Okay, I'll show you the final results right after, since the rest of the details could be up to you. Hopefully I'll get a better result from that. But anyways, bye bye.